In 1989, Saved by the Bell taught us friendship, love, and growing up. But when the cameras stopped, reality hit hard. From on-set conflicts and sudden disappearances to shocking accidents, the cast carried secrets no one ever saw coming. Once you know what really happened after Bayside, the show will never look the same again. Mark Paul Gosselaar as Zach Morris. When Saved by the Bell premiered in 1989, its center of gravity was Zach Morris, the fourth wall-breaking mastermind who always seemed in control. The role belonged to Mark Paul Gosselaar, who was just 15 years old when he became the face of Bayside High. Zach's confidence felt effortless, almost arrogant. In reality, it was carried by a teenager learning to survive adult pressure on a studio clock. Born on March 1, 1974, in Panorama City, Los Angeles, Gosselaar grew up between cultures and expectations as the youngest of 4 children. He began working at 5, modeling and appearing in commercials with his mother managing his career. That early start created constant tension, balancing school with long shoots, growing up in public and being told to dye his naturally brown hair blonde to preserve a TV image. Over time, the character's identity bled into his own, quietly undermining his confidence. Fame arrived fast, but it narrowed his options. After the show ended, casting directors struggled to see past Zach Morris, and the transition into adult roles was filled with rejection. Gosselaar kept pushing until NYPD Blue, 2001 to 2005, finally broke the spell, earning him respect for darker, grounded work. Later projects like Pitch confirmed he wasn't escaping his past. He was rewriting it. His personal life reflected that same strain. In 1996, he married model Lisa Ann Russell, building a family while juggling relentless schedules. 14 years later, the marriage ended in 2011, worn down by distance and pressure. The loss forced a reset, and a year later he married Katrina McGinn, choosing stability, privacy, and health over constant exposure. Today, Mark Paul Gosselaar is 52 years old, still acting steadily and on his own terms. He focuses on family and endurance sports, using discipline as balance rather than escape. With an estimated net worth of around $9 million, his success no longer shouts. It settles quietly, earned through persistence and survival. Mario Lopez as a C. Slater. You know, a C. Slater was physical power mixed with vulnerability. Mario Lopez joined Saved by the Bell in 1989 at 16, turning Slater into the show's athletic heartbeat. The muscles, the confidence, the competitiveness, all of it felt natural. What viewers didn't see was how much of that discipline came from real hardship. Lopez was born on October 10, 1973, in Chula Vista, California, to immigrant parents from Mexico. Money was tight, expectations were heavy, and discrimination was something he learned to navigate early. From childhood, he trained relentlessly: dance, wrestling, martial arts, not just for opportunity, but to prove he belonged. Success offered escape, but it never erased the pressure to represent more than himself. When the sitcom ended, Lopez hit a wall. Acting roles stalled, critics dismissed him as a leftover teen idol, and reinvention became necessary. He pivoted into live television and hosting. Over time, his work on Extra and later Access Hollywood rebuilt his credibility, earning him a Daytime Emmy and a second career that demanded constant discipline. His private life unfolded just as publicly. A 2004 marriage to Allie Landry collapsed after 2 weeks, following revelations of infidelity that left lasting regret. The fallout was painful and humbling. Years later, he found steadier ground with Courtney Mazza, marrying her in 2012 and grounding himself in faith, fitness, and fatherhood. In 2026, Mario Lopez is 53, firmly established as a television host, media figure, and fitness entrepreneur. His days now revolve around routine and family, things he lacked early in life. With an estimated $35 million net worth, his story is no longer about a Bayside jock, but about endurance, accountability, and reinvention over time. Tiffany Thiessen as Kelly Kapowski. At Bayside High, Kelly Kapowski wasn't just another popular student. She was the calm center of every hallway, the smile that made the chaos feel safe. Tiffany Thiessen was only 15 years old when she stepped into the role in 1989, instantly becoming the emotional anchor of the show. Kelly was kind, approachable, and quietly strong, the girl everyone trusted. That warmth, however, was carried by a teenager already learning how heavy attention could be. Born on January 23, 1974, in Long Beach, California, Thiessen grew up under pressure long before television fame arrived. Entering beauty pageants and modeling competitions at a young age taught her early that appearance could define opportunity. Constant travel and auditions disrupted any sense of normal childhood, breeding insecurity beneath a polished exterior. Even success came tied to judgment, shaping how she saw herself. Fame from Saved by the Bell opened doors but also closed others. Leaving the series to pursue new roles sparked criticism, and her shift into a darker, more provocative image as Valerie Malone in Beverly Hills 90,210 drew harsh public reactions. Yet she endured, later redefining her career with maturity and balance in White Collar. Her personal life mirrored that search for balance. Early relationships with co-stars unfolded under constant public scrutiny. Stability arrived in 2005 with her marriage to actor Brady Smith, though balancing motherhood and work tested her limits. A diagnosis of ovarian cysts forced her to prioritize health, pushing her toward wellness and a slower, more intentional lifestyle. By 2026, Tiffany Thiessen is 52, continuing to act selectively while embracing cooking, hosting, and family life. What once felt like retreat became renewal. With an estimated net worth of around $10 million, her journey now reflects quiet confidence. Elizabeth Berkley as Jessie Spano. Jessie Spano never blended into the background. From her first appearance, she challenged authority, questioned norms, and carried visible tension. Elizabeth Berkley was 17 years old when she joined Saved by the Bell in 1989, embodying the show's most intellectually driven character. Jessie wasn't written to be effortless or charming. She was intense, idealistic, and emotionally raw. That intensity came from somewhere real. Born in Farmington Hills, Michigan, Berkley grew up feeling different and exposed. Her height made her a target for bullying, and years of strict ballet training demanded perfection at a young age. Dance shaped her discipline but also sharpened her self-criticism. Even as her talent grew, anxiety followed closely behind. After leaving the series, Berkley made one of the most daring choices of her generation with Showgirls, 1995. The backlash was immediate and brutal, turning her into a cultural punchline overnight. Criticism became personal, relentless, and deeply isolating, pushing her into years of emotional withdrawal. Only later did the film gain cult status, and her work was reassessed, including recognition from the National Board of Review for her ensemble role in The First Wives Club. Away from the spotlight, Berkley rebuilt herself quietly. She married artist and designer Greg Lauren in 2003, creating a private foundation untouched by Hollywood's volatility. Motherhood shifted her priorities, while her own experiences with shame and recovery inspired her to help others. Through her Ask Elizabeth program and best-selling book, she turned pain into guidance for young women struggling with identity and self-worth. In 2026, Elizabeth Berkley is 54, working as an actress, producer, and speaker, rather than chasing constant visibility. Her career now spans cult cinema, television, theater, and advocacy, shaped more by survival than approval. With an estimated net worth of around $6 million, her legacy is no longer defined by one controversial film, but by resilience, reinvention, and the courage to keep going when the applause disappeared. Lark Voorhees as Lisa Turtle. Confidence was Lisa Turtle's armor. She didn't fight for attention. She dressed for it, joked through it, and stayed one step ahead of everyone else. Lark Voorhees was only 15 years old in 1989 when she took on the role, becoming one of the most recognizable faces on Saved by the Bell. On screen, Lisa looked untouchable. Off-screen, that certainty was far more fragile than it appeared. Born March 25, 1974, in Nashville, Tennessee, Voorhees was pulled toward show business almost before she could speak. By the age of 2, auditions and expectations had already begun to replace a normal childhood. Shy by nature, she struggled under the pressure to perform, freezing during early auditions and learning quickly that failure wasn't forgiven easily. Growing up meant learning how to smile while anxiety quietly took root. The success of Saved by the Bell brought awards and fame, including multiple Young Artist Awards, but it also locked her into a single image. Casting directors rarely looked past Lisa Turtle, and as the years passed, meaningful opportunities faded. Roles on The Bold and the Beautiful and In the House offered brief momentum, but her refusal to compromise her religious beliefs narrowed her path even further. Her private life became increasingly turbulent. Romantic relationships collapsed, and 2 marriages ended painfully, the second amid allegations of emotional abuse that deepened her depression. In 2015, Voorhees was diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, a reality she kept private for years while the public misread her behavior as something else entirely. Illness became entertainment, and compassion was rare. By 2026, Lark Voorhees is 52, largely removed from the industry that once celebrated her. Acting is no longer the focus. Survival and stability are. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, her story is one of early brilliance followed by quiet disappearance. Dustin Diamond as Samuel Screech Powers. Laughter followed Screech Powers everywhere, but it rarely stayed once the cameras stopped. Dustin Diamond was just 12 years old in 1989 when he became part of Saved by the Bell, the youngest member of the cast. Screech was awkward, loyal, endlessly hopeful. Dustin, however, was a child learning how quickly innocence can be consumed by fame. Born January 7, 1977 in San Jose, California, Diamond entered the industry under intense parental management. School, friendships, and identity were sacrificed to maintain momentum. Growing up meant memorizing lines instead of forming connections, and isolation followed him into adolescence. By the time most children were discovering who they were, he had already been defined for the world. Unlike his co-stars, Diamond never escaped his role. Screech followed him for nearly 13 years, leaving little room for reinvention. When the franchise ended, opportunities collapsed. Financial trouble mounted, leading to bankruptcy, legal disputes, and public humiliation. His controversial memoir Behind the Bell only deepened the divide, later dismissed even by Diamond himself as exaggerated and manipulated. His personal life reflected the chaos. A troubled marriage ended in divorce, arrests followed, and jail time marked his final years. Fame had promised security but delivered instability. Scandals became headlines, while the person behind them grew increasingly isolated and defensive. In January 2021, Diamond was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. The illness was discovered too late. On February 1, 2021, he died at 44 years old, just 3 weeks after diagnosis, in a Florida hospital. With an estimated net worth of around $300,000, weighed down by debt, his story ends quietly. Leanna Creel as Tori Scott. Tori Scott didn't blend in, and she wasn't meant to. Leanna Creel was 22 years old when she joined Saved by the Bell in 1992, arriving late in the series as a tougher, more confrontational presence. Tori rode motorcycles, challenged Zach, and refused to soften herself for approval. Her confidence felt disruptive, and that was exactly the point. Born on August 27, 1970, Creel grew up sharing her childhood with two identical triplet sisters, a dynamic that shaped both closeness and competition. Attention was divided, identity often shared, and individuality hard-won. Acting became a group effort early on, blurring personal boundaries and amplifying pressure. From the start, standing out meant pushing harder. After her brief but memorable time on the show, Creel made a choice few expected. She stepped away from acting. Hollywood wasn't welcoming to women behind the camera, and the transition into directing and producing came with resistance and quiet exclusion. Still, she persisted, building credibility through work on films like But I'm a Cheerleader and The Cell, projects that later gained critical respect and independent recognition. Her personal life required similar courage. Coming out as gay, still resistant to visibility, carried real consequences, from lost opportunities to social backlash. Yet in 2008, she married Renat Greenberg, choosing authenticity over safety. Together, they built a family and a creative partnership outside the traditional spotlight. By 2026, Leanna Creel is 56, no longer acting but firmly established as a producer, director, and photographer. She works behind the scenes, shaping stories rather than starring in them. With an estimated net worth of around $2 million, her journey reflects a quieter kind of success. Leah Remini as Stacey Carosi. Stacey Carosi didn't arrive quietly. She arrived with authority. Leah Remini was 21 years old when she joined Saved by the Bell in 1991, stepping into the Malibu Sands arc as a woman who challenged Zach Morris instead of orbiting him. Stacey was sharp, independent, and unimpressed by charm alone in the show. Leah Marie Remini was born on June 15, 1970 in Brooklyn, New York, into a working-class family already carrying invisible pressure. Her childhood fractured early when her mother joined the Church of Scientology, pulling Leah into an environment defined by control, surveillance, and fear. By her early teens, she was separated from family, forced into rigid labor structures. Her sense of self was shaped not by safety, but by obedience. Acting became both escape and survival. After early television roles, Remini broke through with The King of Queens, where she spent 9 seasons balancing humor with emotional grit. But the real rupture came in 2013, when she left Scientology, a decision that triggered harassment, lawsuits, and years of intimidation. Walking away meant losing friends, family connections, and professional protection almost overnight. Her marriage to actor Angelo Pagan provided stability for years, and together they raised a daughter. Yet even that bond carried strain, especially as Remini's public battle with Scientology escalated. In 2024, the couple finalized their divorce after decades together, closing a chapter shaped as much by resilience as by exhaustion. Few personal relationships survive constant pressure. Fewer still survive public warfare. By 2026, Leah Remini is 56, no longer just an actress but a full-time activist and truth-teller. Through Emmy-winning documentaries and best-selling books, she transformed personal trauma into public accountability. With an estimated net worth of around $25 million, her legacy is not comfort. It is confrontation. Ernie Sabella as Leon Carosi. Leon Carosi ruled Malibu Sands with a scowl, a checklist, and an unexpected conscience. Ernie Sabella was 42 years old when he appeared in 1991 on Saved by the Bell, portraying the demanding hotel owner who hired the Bayside teens. He wasn't warm, but he was fair, and beneath the stern exterior lived an actor shaped by decades of discipline. Born on September 19, 1949 in Westchester County, New York, Sabella grew up in a household where money was tight and work came early. Theater became his refuge, but it wasn't a fast escape. He trained seriously, worked relentlessly, and spent years moving between stage, television, and bit parts, often unseen, often uncredited, always persistent. Unlike many of his peers, Sabella never chased fame. He built his career quietly across Broadway and television, earning respect rather than headlines. His greatest recognition arrived not through his face, but his voice, when he became Pumbaa in The Lion King. That role would outlive nearly everything else he ever did, echoing across generations without ever demanding reinvention. His personal life remained intentionally private. Married to his wife Cheryl since 1999, Sabella avoided the public chaos that derailed many careers. In an industry addicted to exposure, he chose endurance instead. By 2026, Ernie Sabella is 77, still working primarily as a voice actor, still respected, still steady. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, earned largely through voice work and stage legacy, his career stands as proof that survival in Hollywood doesn't always require reinvention. Ed Alonzo as Max. At Bayside High, there was one adult who didn't lecture, punish, or grade papers. He distracted reality itself. Ed Alonzo was 21 years old when he joined Saved by the Bell in 1989, portraying Max, the eccentric diner owner and resident magician. Max wasn't just comic relief. He was the show's surreal heartbeat. Edward Alonzo was born on July 26, 1962, in Los Angeles, California, into a household that valued conventional success over unconventional dreams. From a young age, he gravitated toward magic, comedy, and illusion, choices that clashed sharply with expectations of college and stability. Family tension followed, as pursuing sleight of hand instead of a diploma looked reckless, even irresponsible. That early conflict taught Alonzo how to live on the margins of approval. Balancing acting with professional magic proved difficult. After Saved by the Bell, screen roles slowed, and Hollywood struggled to place someone who didn't fit cleanly into categories. But behind the scenes, Alonzo thrived, becoming a respected illusion consultant for icons like Britney Spears and Michael Jackson. His craft mattered more than his face, even if audiences rarely realized who shaped the spectacle. By 2026, Ed Alonzo is 58, still performing magic, still touring, still creating illusions for stages rather than screens. With an estimated net worth of around $1.2 million, earned largely through live performance and consulting, his legacy isn't fame, it's wonder. Tori Spelling as Violet Bickerstaff. Violet Bickerstaff didn't stand out because she was loud. She stood out because she was gentle. Tori Spelling was 19 years old when she appeared in 1992 on Saved by the Bell, playing the shy, soft-spoken girl who fell in love with Screech. Violet wasn't confident or popular. She was vulnerable, and that made her memorable. Victoria Davy Spelling was born on May 16, 1973, in Los Angeles, into one of Hollywood's most powerful families. But wealth did not equal warmth. Growing up as the daughter of producer Aaron Spelling meant privilege paired with emotional distance, relentless comparison, and deep insecurity. From an early age, she struggled with body image and disordered eating, fighting to feel worthy beyond her last name. Her career was shaped by opportunity and judgment in equal measure. While she found massive fame as Donna Martin on Beverly Hills, 90210 criticism followed her relentlessly, from acting ability to accusations of nepotism. Financial instability later replaced fame, worsened by real estate losses and the collapse of reality TV income. Success came fast. Sustainability did not. Her marriage to Dean McDermott became public spectacle, marked by infidelity, addiction, and emotional exhaustion. Together, they had 5 children, but the weight of betrayal and financial strain proved unbearable. In 2024, after 18 years, the marriage officially ended, leaving Spelling to rebuild her life under intense public scrutiny. Chronic migraines and repeated cosmetic procedures added physical pain to emotional fatigue. By 2026, Tori Spelling is 53, working primarily in reality television, podcasts, and live appearances to stay afloat. Her estimated net worth is around $500,000, heavily impacted by debt and ongoing expenses. Born into Hollywood royalty, she learned the hardest lesson of all. Fame doesn't guarantee safety. What started as a bright, carefree high school fantasy slowly turned into something far more complicated. Behind the laughter and lockers of Bayside were real lives shaped by pressure, loss, reinvention, and survival. Some found peace away from the spotlight, others paid a heavy price for fame too early. So now we ask you, which Bayside story shocked you the most, and whose journey stayed with you the longest? Let us know in the comments below. If you want more untold Hollywood stories, hidden truths, and cast updates like this, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the real drama always begins after the cameras stop rolling.